Wow.
Wow, we
No,
got
that
here
was a
s-
hard hike.
Yeah, that. Whew, I'm
Yeah, hey, I'm
sweating.
kind of scared. I can't remember walking here. It just kind of transitioned.
Well, our house is right in the background.
Here, our house is in the background. It's fine. But I can't remember how we got here.
It was like right down the street.
Okay, I'm not gonna think about it anymore.
So, I want to ask you at the campfire, what's your favorite? Who's America's favorite family? Who's America's
The
favorite
Simpsons.
family?
Simpsons?
Everyone knows that.
Peter Griffin.
I think
No, it's
that
The
yeah, I
Simpsons.
know. I was
It's not
thinking
Peter.
SpongeBob probably.
That's not a family.
SpongeBob's not a family.
SpongeBob's a family.
No,
A family
it's-
can be
it's The
one
Simpsons.
person.
It's The
Okay.
Simpsons.
Hold on, can I
But
quickly?
what if America's favorite family wasn't all hopes and dreams and sugar plums and shit like that? What if there's a little edge on The Simpsons?
I can't imagine that. I'm trying to think about it, and I can't picture that in my head.
Yeah, it's not like they do a program of that every single year.
Yeah, I thought that the point of The Simpsons was that they were really normal.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
This creepypasta, do I have the name of the author here? I do not have the author name for some reason.
They're
but
probably
it's
they
called-
probably got killed.
Yeah. It's called The Simpsons episode 890.
Uh oh,
That's a lot.
that is a
Yeah,
lot.
isn't it crazy?
I don't
That's
like
kind of
that.
unnerving.
Let's start us off. I'm always a fan of The Simpsons.
Always.
You know, that 1989 show. I used
Yeah.
to like it when I was 11 years old. I'm 14 now, and I still like the show to this day.
Awesome. That's really
If
cool.
you don't know it, The Simpsons is an American animated sitcom created by Matt Groening and produced by the Fox Broadcasting Company.
Holy shit.
I didn't know that actually.
The main characters are a satire of working class family consisting of Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. The series satires many aspects of American culture,
Ooh.
That's
society, politics, and history. It broadcasted on Fox, and later on in 2013, also broadcasted on FXX.
Okay, that's really cool.
So-
Okay, nice Wikipedia article.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
each of
this
these
is-
I'd like to
stories.
know
in case
this.
anyone doesn't know, you get like a little,
A recap?
yeah, the little recap. I watched The Simpsons every time it came on, and I never missed an episode of it. Ever! However, I saw a rather odd episode of the show.
Ooh.
It scared me for 7 months.
That's a very specific amount of time.
Oh, exactly 7 months.
Exactly,
Exactly
7
7
months. I was very scared. Then I got
And then,
over
and
it.
then they like didn't give a
I
shit.
didn't care after that.
They woke up one morning like, oh.
At school, my friends were talking about the future Simpsons, and I really didn't bother joining that chat
Why?
until I heard the word episode 890.
That's fucking.
I joined the chat
Uh-oh.
even though I still didn't bother to.
What?
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 You
What does
ignore
that mean?
Ignore that.
I
he
don't know.
leaves
I
next
don't know why
paragraph.
you're acting confused. You joined it even though you didn't bother to. Like everyone does that.
Okay.
At 3:05 p.m., I was finally able to go home from school. On the way home, I found a CD that said The Simpsons
Where?
890. Please destroy. Signed MG.
Wait, what the fuck does on the way home mean? I found
Just
a
on the
CD.
ground.
Bingo!
No,
I
no,
have
they're
found a
gone.
lost episode.
Yeah.
I never found a lost CD before, so this was a
Holy
big
shit.
find.
Never
I
found
also
a
noticed that
lost
MG
CD
must
before.
stand for Matt Groening, the
Oh, yeah.
creator of the show.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But why did it say please destroy?
Well, let me. Can
I
I
was kind of suspicious.
Can I introduce a little tiny additional element to
Oh, sure,
the
go for
stream
it.
just for a second? Okay, I'm just gonna quickly. Just in the corner. I just want to have this in the corner for like background viewing,
Ooh,
just to help you visualize what's happening.
ooh, yeah. That's good.
Okay. you
And
can-
why
you
did
can
it
go
say please destroy? I was kind of suspicious, but I picked it up from the ground.
ahead. Okay.
And oh man, how I would want to take that back.
Oh man.
At the time, I noticed my dad hates having unknown CDs in the house.
What?
So I put it on
Fucking unknown CD.
I fucking hate that you have
So I
this.
put it on top of my video games for my PlayStation 4 on my bookshelf. The next day, Monday, my dad went out to bring dinner from McDonald's. This meant that I had to babysit my younger brother Jason. When he left, I played FIFA 19 on my PlayStation 4 until my dad came back to the house with dinner.
Awesome.
Love FIFA, baby.
After dinner, I started to think about the CD.
Did it say
So
what
I
you
grabbed
brought
the
home
CD
for dinner? Hold
and I
on.
popped it in my PlayStation 4. It showed a countdown, and the episode started.
Ooh.
The theme started, and there was nothing odd, except that the logo for the show was in Spanish.
Okay, that's
I
really
assumed
scary.
it was a joke or an error made by
It's
the
a
writers.
joke, a little bit of a joke.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Somebody invented the Spanish language as a joke.
The episode started with Homer watching a commercial for a gun store. This is in character of the voice. Joe's Guns! Protect your rights! We have pistols, Molotov cocktails, sniper rifles, and especially flamethrowers.
Okay.
Hunt down animals, take a gun test, murder your sons and daughters. Wait, forget that part. So why not
Wow.
go to
Whoa.
Joe's Guns today?
That's classic
Wait, roll
Simpsons
it
humor.
back.
And then watching the TV. Murder your sons and daughters, huh? Homer
Is that-
said,
is
rubbing his
that-
hands.
Oh no, Homer,
get
don't do it! Homer, no!
Then it cut into Homer inside of Joe's Guns. The only person there was a male store clerk with big hair and glasses.
Oh, that's too scary. I want to go back
They
to
had
FIFA.
this conversation. Hello, sir. What can I do for you today? Homer says, I'd like a flamethrower. Ah, a flamethrower. What are you gonna do with it? Burn that old warehouse that no one goes to anymore? Homer looks at him. No, something else. I'm going to murder all my sons and daughters.
Oh yeah, that's classic Homer actually. That's classic
Yeah, he's always
Homer.
saying
The
that.
store clerk says, You're joking, right? Homer says, No, the owner said it on the commercials.
It's a
The
good-
store clerk says, he was only kidding around. I can't give you a flamethrower for that reason. Homer stands there and he says, I said, give me the fucking flamethrower.
Oh no!
My goodness, Homer.
Homer, don't say that.
Guys, calm the fuck down.
Homer didn't sound like himself there. His voice sounded more like evil paper from Inanimate Insanity.
What? What?
No, that's true.
What is that? What is that?
How do you not know? Continue.
Quickly, Homer got out a chainsaw and ripped off the clerk's head with it. Hyper-realistic blood splattered all over the screen.
Oh, of course.
Not hyper-realistic
Oh,
blood.
fucking course.
A later time card showed up, and it showed Homer outside the house. He pulled the trigger and fire blew out of it. Marge, Maggie, Lisa, and Bart were all swallowed up by it. At this
Okay.
point, the animation style changed to be similar to that of South Park.
Okay.
Inside the flames, Marge, Maggie, Lisa, and Bart melted into crackling molten pizza with bones and blood.
What?
Tasty.
What is it?
Then Homer turned to the viewer. I have killed them all. Looks
Classic
like I
Homer.
just chose another victim.
Oh, he's gonna kill us now?
Yeah, he says, he looks at you and he says, I killed them all. Looks like I just chose another victim. And it's you! And he points at the screen. Suddenly the screen went to black. And this is when it got more scary.
Oh,
A
what?
recent photo of me, my dad, and Jason was shown. Except all of us were skeletons. And the screen flashed 666. How did the CD know me and my whole family?
Wait, can I comment on something?
Yeah, hit me.
So when it brought up just like a picture of his family, I was about to be like, okay, that kind of shit is freaky. Then they added the skeletons
They
to
just
the
turned-
666.
they turned
I'm
into
like-
barely
skeletons.
recognizing my own skeleton.
No, it's like the cover of Say Cheese and Die, where it's like the skeletons that barbecue.
Oh, but they're all wearing like you're all wearing your clothes, so you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
skeleton's wearing my Balenciagas. I know that that's me.
I pressed the power button, but it wouldn't work. I unplugged everything, but it wouldn't work. I took the CD out, but it still wouldn't work. I tried to turn off my PS4, but it still wouldn't work. A satanic voice said, "You're now in my world. You cannot escape. There's no way out, James."
Bowser?
How did this CD know my name also? Maybe it's possessed? More pictures showed. Monsters from my dreams I never told anyone about. 7-year-old me dead. My younger brothers, or at least someone that looked really familiar to him, brains splattered. Tragedies that never happened yet. You get the point. Finally,
Yeah, you get it.
a news report showed. It said 31 people died after watching The Simpsons. After that, a creepy and disturbing text popped up. It said, "This is all your fault," in caps. Another text popped up. "You, whoever is watching this, will be dead very soon. Very, very soon. You'll die slowly and painfully. I'll destroy everyone with a little help from Satan." Then the TV turned itself off. I was scarred and doomed and got out my dad's phone. I called the cops and they arrived just in time to see what the hell was going on. As soon as they arrived, it showed a kid no older than 13 in an abandoned house drinking a 2-liter bottle of soda for some weird reason. That's when the CD ended, but abruptly. When I was about to take the CD out of the PS4, it fell on the floor scratched. I explained to the cops everything about the episode. Jason woke up to see what the fuck was going on. I explained everything about the situation, and he believed me. I showed them and my brother the entire CD, and they were all shocked at what has happened. Jason tried to smash the CD by tearing it apart, but it was indestructible.
Okay.
The next morning, Tuesday, I woke up early, like at 7:04.
That's pretty early.
I had no choice but to get in contact with Dan Castellanta, Homer's
What?
voice actor.
Oh. Yeah.
I talked to him on Skype and asked him
Just
questions
writing him
like,
up.
why was that one scene in German? And who made the episode? What inspired you to make it? A serial killer named John Prolowski wrote this episode, if you're wondering. When I asked him how the episode knows my name, I heard a scream of pain. Then a very chilling voice said, "I got him, and now I'm coming to get you!" I hung up and told everyone, "We need to leave and pack our stuff right now."
Oh,
I told my dad what happened, but he didn't believe me, so it was just my brother and me.
Oh no.
We rented a room at the Red Roof Plus for the next few days. On Tuesday, I read a newspaper article titled, "Serial Killer Carrying Flamethrower Got Shot by the Police."
Oh, that's fine then.
The killer was John Prolowski.
Who?
And me and my brother celebrated with soda and pizza and went back home.
Is that it?
That's the ending.
Oh.
Boy, that was scary. That,
That was
an
an awful fucking ending. That I would be scared for about 7 months if that happened to me. Oh yeah, let me like play like a what's like a scary sound. There. That
Yeah,
was-
I like. What if every story ended like that? Ended with, "Oh, we left. We had to." Like
That was like.
the concept of something like
Sucks.
Halloween being like, "We need to get out of this house," and they leave Michael Myers, and then they just chill, and 2 weeks later they see
What?
Michael Myers got shot by the police.
Michael Myers was put in jail and executed last week, so it's fine.
That's how Halloween should end.
Oh yeah, okay. And then they celebrate with soda and pizza before
Yeah.
going back home.
Well, who's
They
next?
have a dance party ending.
Who has a
Yeah,
story?
dance party ending.
Can I read one? I have a short one.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I want to read the name because it's kind of a spoiler. You're gonna piece this together, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me. Let me. Okay. It was a rainy day outside. It was gloomy, the sky was gray, and it was raining. On days like this, sometimes all you want to do is have a cup of cocoa and be under a blanket, but I was on my Alienware laptop. I was... Sorry.
I have to hold.
I need
Hold
a
up, hold up. I need a breather. I need to take a breather after that one.
Thank you for subscribing, pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Back to
already
it,
I'm
I'm
already
good, I'm
having
good.
a hard time. Hold on.
Sponsor creepy monster.
Okay. Okay. I
Let's
was
hear it, let's hear
eating a protein bar and checking Yahoo Mail for any emails from my college teacher. Hold on, my phone went off. I knew my homework was late and I was just waiting to be scolded about it. But
Oh, that sucks. I've been there.
to my
Oh,
surprise, I had an email from an email address I had never ever seen before. It was from ... dramatic pause. Shigeru Miyamoto? I was so excited I finished my protein bar and immediately looked at it. But I also knew it could be a scam, so I was excited and not excited at the same time. I looked at the email and it said, "Hello Phil, I'm Shigeru Miyamoto, the owner of Nintendo. I heard that you liked my video games." He was right. I love Nintendo games. I always have. Mario, Zelda, Luigi, even Captain Toad. I love them
Whoa.
all. I almost wanted to stop reading this email and go play them on my Wii U, but I persisted. At Nintendo, we like to give our biggest fans special privileges. Today, you'll get a package containing exclusive Nintendo things only for you, and you have to keep them secret, but I hope you have fun. But, if you don't keep them secret, beware. From Shigeru Miyamoto. I was in awe. This seemed real. It sounded like Shigeru Miyamoto wrote this. And the email was even from Nintendo.com.
I'm a Nintendonian prince.
But just as soon as I finished reading it, my doorbell rang. And I got out of my chair, and I opened the door, and sitting on the doorstep was a big box with a Nintendo logo on it, so I brought it inside, and I opened the box. And what was inside was amazing. First of all, the Nintendo NX. It looked just like a lot of the leaked picture. It was a screen with analog sticks, and it felt nice.
Oh, it's like the shitty one.
Whoa.
Wait, is it like the
little
little,
oval.
the little round one, the oval one with the thumbsticks and a
I
glass
don't-
plate?
I don't remember what the fake Nintendo NXs looked like. I thought they were like a bunch of circles.
It was like an oval with a thumbstick on the left and right, and the screen covered the whole thing.
I don't know.
Yeah,
OLED
so the sticks
switch.
were like in the middle of the screen.
That
Yeah,
sounds
it was
awful.
really bad. It was really bad.
Yeah, it looked
Someone
like
grab
shit, but
Someone
people
grab a
were like,
picture
"Oh,
of the
that's
NX
sick."
preview. Yeah.
Now that's a sexy piece of hardware, I said, and I took it out of the box. Below it was
took it out
new
and fucked
games. Mario 128? Holy shit, it was finally coming out. I thought about it and it made sense. There was also Pikmin 4 and Breath of the Wild, which was exciting, but I already knew about. And below that was a life-size statue of Mario. I took it
That's
out
a
and put it
big
on the
box.
floor.
Life size.
Mario in real life. I took it out and put it on the floor. It was really realistic, almost like Mario was in my home, but it was just a statue. I was so excited I
There it is.
immediately put the Mario 128 disc in my Nintendo NX and started playing, and it was so fun. The graphics were amazing, way better than the PlayStation or Xbox, and it ran really good, and the music was awesome. I had so much fun, I didn't even realize 3 hours has passed since I had to go and make dinner, but I just had cereal because I wanted to get back to gaming. But I also heard my Skype go off on my computer,
Oh.
so I looked at it, and my friend
Another Skype
John
story.
messaged me, "What's up?" I thought about what Shigeru Miyamoto's email said, but I felt like it was probably just him joking around, so I told
No.
John about the Nintendo NX and all the cool stuff I got. He said,
Kid's never heard of an NDA.
he said, "Wow, I want to see," but then his text on Skype turned red and was
Oh,
in
shit.
all capital letters. "Phil, you shouldn't have done that," it said. I got kind of scared, but John always was a joker, so I just ignored it and went back to gaming. But when I
Easy
opened
box.
Mario 128, it was different. Mario looked sad now. And whenever I jumped, instead of saying woohoo, instead of saying woohoo, he would just make a sad sound. and he was way too pale. Eventually, I got hit by a spike and lost all my life, and Mario didn't do his normal fun death animation. Instead, he just curled up on the ground and died. And the screen went black and would not turn on again.
Killed Mario.
This is bullshit! I yelled, and I threw the NX at the wall and it broke. I was so mad. I was so mad. I was about to go punch my Mario statue, but it wasn't where it was. But
no.
then I heard Mario's voice behind me. It's a me! You're
Oh my
death,
God.
it said, and it punched me in the back. The statue was alive. It was realistic, because it was real. Its eyes were red, and blood poured out of its mouth.
That's
It
realistic.
attacked me again. It attacked me again, but I was a big Mario fan, so I knew all of his weaknesses. I dodged Mario's attacks. What?
His weaknesses? Like he loses to sword characters? Like,
What are you doing, bro? Mario matchup.
Your hit him, he gets smaller.
Yeah. I dodged Mario's attacks and went into the kitchen and grabbed a lot of knives and stuff. I threw them at Mario, and a lot of them hit him. Whenever he got hit, he would scream in pain, and it was so loud. But I threw more and more stuff at him, and I was aiming for his legs so he wouldn't be able to jump. Eventually, I killed Mario and let out a sigh of relief.
Oh my god.
Killed
Sorry.
Mario?
Killed Mario. Oh my god.
it threw knives in Mario's kneecaps.
Eventually, I killed Mario.
My God.
Eventually, I killed Mario and let out a sigh of relief. I was also sad. I was also sad that I broke my Nintendo NX. But then the door rang.
Okay.
And then the door rang. I hope it's a new Nintendo NX, I said. And I opened the door.
Dude fucking killed Mario and he's concerned about his NX.
Sorry, I'm crying. But it wasn't. It was the guys. It was the guys from the "We Would Like to Play" commercials. But they said.
No.
But they said, "We would like you to die."
Are you fucking kidding me? No, this can't be serious.
There's
no,
no
this can't
way.
be serious.
There's no way in
fucking
hell.
way.
And they pulled out guns and shot my legs. Just like, that's like how I threw knives at Mario's legs.
This
And
guy
I
better not
screamed.
have actually been in college when he wrote this. I swear.
No one who's ever written a
Like,
creepypasta where they're
die and they shot his legs. Wait, okay, continue.
They shot his legs.
Then in a car behind them, Shigeru Miyamoto walked out. But his eyes were red and he had devil horns. "I only asked you to not tell anyone, but you did," he yelled. "I couldn't help myself," I said. That's because the game Mario 128 is programmed to hypnotize you into telling your friends about it, so the Mario statue comes to life and attacks you, he chuckled. That made sense, I thought. I usually am good at keeping secrets, but this time I just couldn't. But you killed Mario, so something even worse will happen to you. Because Shigeru Miyamoto doesn't exist. This whole time, my real name was Shigeru Deathimoto. I screamed in terror as he held a hand out. What?
You're making this up. You're making this. There's
No,
no way
this isn't
to
real.
write this.
Queeve, did you write
This
this?
isn't real.
No.
This is too, like, this feels like shit you would say. This feels like something you would joke about.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. I felt myself turning into Mario. You killed Mario and I sent to unsuspecting fools like you, and I need a new one, he said.
No!
Queeve, can you like play some Mario hurt sounds? Could you, like in the backing.
I
for this-
can't right now. Both of my monitors are occupied. I don't have any Mario or
I could feel
sound
myself
soundboards.
turning into Mario.
Oh, I almost forgot. And he held his hand out again. I was thinking about killing. I tried to scream, but I was frozen in place. Can't move until someone else tells someone about Mario 128. But I know just who to send it to. How about your friend, John? And
Oh,
Oh, perfectly timed!
What
that was a really
great
good
ending.
SpongeBob
Oh my
sound.
god!
John.
What are you reading?
I'm not gonna tell you this one's called.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start off.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get into character.
I'll just sit here and wait until I can figure out what like footage to look up on YouTube.
I'm getting into character. I've been playing Among Us for quite a
Oh,
while.
okay, hold on.
Wait, pause.
Hold
I
on
need
a second.
I need to. Oh. Hey, what the fuck? B, Wreck-It Ralph real life is A-okay.
Okay, great. We're good. Okay, no, we're done. Knock the wind out.
That's it.
Wait, what?
No Among Us.
We're not doing
Hi
this
everyone,
one?
thanks for
I've
coming.
been playing Among Us for quite a while now, and I've grown very fond of it. It's a very fun game. It's one of the best elimination experiences I've ever had in my life. Now, this might make me sound like a real killer, but I've enjoyed being the imposter more than a crewmate. For me, it's just more fun to kill other players. That is, until now. One day after I had finished all of the homework for the week, I became super bored. I thought about playing with my RC car and was getting it set up when it started to rain outside. Oh, so I decided to play some games.
RC
I
car?
played for a little while on the Xbox, but I was still bored. Later, I was messing around my iPad. I reminded myself that I still had Among Us. I decided I would play it, but first, out of random curiosity, I looked around the App Store to see if there were any other games that I might enjoy so that I wouldn't get too bored after playing Among Us for a while. While I was skimming through the details of Among Us, I noticed it had an update. That's weird, I thought. Inner Sloth hasn't made any announcements for an update recently. Yes, they're still making a sequel, I think, but I haven't heard anything about news since the original. I shrugged it off, reckoning they're just talking about fixing some bugs and stuff, even though the update contained no description. Everything went normal when I launched the game. I played around with some dummy simulations before looking for an online match. When I went to the list, I only found one. I tried refreshing it by changing the number of imposters, but to no avail. I shrugged this off again, thinking maybe it had something to do with the update or something. I was able to join the match, making myself the 10th player. I've never been that lucky before.
Never.
Usually
been
you
that
can't
lucky.
fit a 9 out of 10 session because it's either already started or it's become full because somebody beat you to it. Despite the weird things I've seen so far, I expected the match to go on as normal. I got the normal intro where it tells you if you're a crewmate or an imposter and how many imposters there were among the others. Being a dedicated worker, I began my task before going to detective mode. I completed my first task, an emergency meeting was held. Of course, I hadn't seen any other bodies or anything going through the event, so I chose to skip. However, I noticed everyone else skipped as well. Okay, now that's really strange.
Is it?
Usually, most of the players are... It's not strange at all. Most of the
Okay.
players are suspecting. And will vote off on any of the players, even themselves maybe. And I've never been in a match where everybody skips voting on the first emergency meeting.
Okay.
Eventually,
happens
I
constantly.
finished all my tasks, and I started to look around the ship. A couple more meetings were held. On the second meeting, everyone skipped again. I typed in the chat
Scary.
that voting was necessary for most players. On the third meeting, everyone voted on a few of each other, apparently having listened to my messages. The blue player got the most votes, and was ejected, but they weren't the imposter. I continued looking around the ship, not being able to find anything. In fact, a very long time passed before the next meeting. I would say 15 to 20 minutes.
That's terrifying. The long
That's
game of Among Us.
definitely not right. I don't know if a match itself can last that long.
It
At
can't.
the next
No.
meeting, an orange player was voted out, but they weren't an imposter either. The next 3 meetings went like this. The light blue, green, and pink players were rejected. Tama? And none of them were the imposter. I was growing more suspicious.
Imagine playing with reveal imposters on.
Usually the imposter was found by now, and I already knew it could be me because I was selected as a crewmate. At least that's what I saw. I went to security to watch the cameras for a while, and I saw the remaining players walking around. I didn't see any of them killing each other or going through vents. At one point, communications were disabled. I rushed down as fast as I could to fix them. When I tried to position the knob, however, the usual gibberish message didn't play. Instead, there was just static. I didn't think this would go on my list of weird things, because it just seemed like a glitch. 2 more meetings were held. Purple and light green were thrown off the ship, but they were innocent. Now there were only 3 of us. Black, brown, and me, red. Black held another meeting. We went to chat. I asked them what's going on. Neither of them responded for a moment. We are all innocent, Black spoke up. No, Brown replied, we're all innocent. Then Black spoke up. It's true. We're actually all crewmates. The imposter's an AI or something.
Oh, fucked up.
Wow! It's cool!
Awesome!
This is like the story mode I've always wanted to have.
I've always
Be an
wanted
automatically
one.
controlled imposter for me and the other players to find. I decided to search with them. We looked around for a good 10 minutes and found nothing. I decided maybe they're lying and decided to vote one of them out. Black got voted out. They were not the imposter.
No.
It was just me and Brown. This is too much. It never gets down to just 2 players. Usually when a 3rd player gets kicked, you either lose or win, with the imposter either having killed all the crew members or having been killed.
Among Us 1v1?
Brown held the next meeting. In the chat, I asked him what this was about. But he wouldn't respond. I voted on him, and to my surprise, he voted on himself. He was ejected from the ship, and wasn't the imposter. Now it was just me. I completed all my tasks. No one else was there to do anything. Anxious to figure out what was going on, I looked all around the ship, searching for anything. For another 10 minutes, I found nothing. No bodies, no sabotage, just me and the ship.
This sounds so boring, just leave.
Everything on the ship was non-interactable. The gun, the fuel, the garbage disposal, the ID scanner. I was unable to interact with anything on the ship. One thing. The emergency meeting button. I realized that I was the only one who hadn't called in an emergency meeting.
Oh, fuck, true.
I realized this is all probably a big glitch, and that it would tell me after I got thrown off the ship. I voted on myself, and it threw me off. However, it told me that my character name wasn't the imposter. Then the message disappeared, and the video focused on space for a moment. This was so strange. I wanted to refresh the game, but I couldn't. I just had to watch this so I could figure out what was going on. And after that long moment, a new message displayed. You are the imposter.
Among Us in real life sucks. Sus. Among Us in real life sucks.
At first I laughed, thinking this glitch was designed as a prank or something. Then I started feeling something. I felt myself being pulled.
I was becoming a crewmate.
It couldn't be the wind because the windows were shut. I looked around my room and I saw nothing. Then I looked down at my iPad and I noticed something very off about it. I saw tiny lines going towards it. And then I noticed the lines were what appeared to be a suction of wind coming for me. That was what was being pulling me in. Here I made a horrifying realization. I was being pulled into my iPad. Call me crazy, but I know that it's true. I felt it myself.
Oh shit.
I also realized that the update of the game was cursed. The other players were right. None of them, not even my player, was the imposter. The imposter was a real person. There must have been other players that went through this and have become victims to being human imposters. I just happened to be one of them. I've never been so scared in my life. I didn't want to die. I took one step backwards, hoping I could easily run away and tell us about this, but when my left foot touched the ground behind me, I felt the pull getting stronger. I jumped back towards my door and grabbed hold of it, just to get pulled off at what felt like maximum strength. Despite how hard it felt, no other object in my room appeared to be getting sucked into the iPad. It seemed only I could get sucked in. I held onto the doorknob for dear life. Then, I noticed my phone right near my bed. If I could just reach it without getting too close to the iPad, I could have it on me in case I needed to call for help. With careful timing, I jumped toward the leg of my bed, grabbed it, and managed to grab hold of the phone, and quickly jumped back to the door. I called 911 and explained the situation to them as best I could.
I almost got
Despite
sucked into
how-
Among Us.
My iPad sucked me in.
Despite how insane it sounded, they believed me.
The imposter.
They believed my story and told me they'd be right away. The pull was strong, but I was able to pull myself out of the room where the suction apparently couldn't reach me. I took the opportunity to find something to block it. I raced downstairs to the bookcase in my dining room and grabbed the biggest book I could find. I carefully crept to the door of my room where I could see the suction hole right in the doorway. Aiming as carefully as I could, I threw the book into the pull. Shockingly, the book made it through. I concluded that anything could get sucked in.
Oh, you
But
can put
only
anything
to
in
the
Among
hole
Us.
from its starting point.
Oh no.
Hey, yo, hey.
Hannah.
The
Hannah,
book landed right on top of the screen, which thankfully blocked the suction altogether. Then I carefully picked up the iPad, with the book still on top of it, and took it downstairs. Just as police and paramedics came to my door, I didn't expect them to believe when I showed them what was happening, but strangely, they could hear the suction as well. They asked me to bring the iPad with them to a lab. At the lab,
What?
the
Wait,
iPad
what the
was-
fuck is happening? What is
At the
literally...
lab, the iPad was carefully taken off the book and quickly placed into the box. Then, using some tiny machines, the scientists tried to turn the iPad off.
Some tiny machines.
Miraculously, they succeeded.
Victory on an iPad.
What was even better was the gravitational pull had finally stopped. At first, I was so relieved, but then when they offered to return the iPad back to me, I was too nervous to risk letting this happen again. So I insisted that I leave it with them. They promised they would be careful examining it, so I could figure out the problem as soon as they could. After a few weeks of experimenting,
My
the
fucking
scientists
God.
concluded that the pull only happened with Among Us, and that I would have to delete it until further notice.
No, I can't do that!
I was disappointed, but I knew that was the right thing to do. I still don't know what the curse on this game is, but I'm certain of one thing. I'm somehow connected to all of this. That's it. That's the end.
What the hell?
Okay.
What the fuck?
What? Nothing happened. Nothing happened in the story.
Played Among Us.
I
and then
played
he
Among
was
Us.
the imposter.
And the iPad was evil, and the scientists took it to their lab and said, just fucking stop playing Among Us. And then I was sad.
What the fuck?
The
Played
end.
Among Us in an empty lobby for an hour and a half, and then his iPad tried to suck it in.
Yeah, you got
After
Selma.
saying you are the imposter. The story is
Yo.
called "You Are the Imposter," by the way,
Oh, fucking of course
in
it
case
is.
you were wondering.
That is a
Sim-
spoiler name.
Simp. Wreck-It Ralph, real life. Note, this is not and has nothing to do with the MLP theory pasta.
What?
The likeness
What?
is purely coincidental.
What?
Not parodied.
What?
I don't know what that's about. That's just the disclaimer at the top.
That's a strong
Oh,
start.
boy.
All likeness is purely coincidental and not parodied. Today, I went to see Hotel Transylvania.
Oh, awesome.
As always, there were big Wreck-It Ralph cutouts to promote the movie. I am a huge fan and hope to go on premiere night. But as I looked at Felix, I couldn't help but notice something. He looked oddly familiar, like I had seen him somewhere. I went home and looked through my computer, or my hub, for all my memories. I couldn't find anything, so I contacted my buddy Jeff. He told me that he felt the same way.
What?
I did some research.
Wait, on
and found an old
wait.
newspaper article.
I need to ask.
Bully- Yeah.
They saw a standee of Wreck-It Ralph,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
I think Fix It
And they
Felix.
said this sounds familiar.
No, they saw Fix It Felix.
They saw Fix It Felix and said
Fix
it
It
looked
Felix
familiar,
is
like they'd seen
familiar.
him before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen
So
Fix It Felix before.
Yeah. They see everyone feels like Fix It Felix is familiar.
Also, continue.
Yeah.
I did some research and found an old newspaper article. Bully dies a hero. I clicked it and downloaded the file. After reading it, it all clicked. In the year 2000, a 11-year-old bully, whose features were the same as Ralph's, whose actual name was Ralph.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I
Whoa.
was shocked at how blatantly... I was shocked they would blatantly do this instead of giving him a different name. But this was after reading the article. Anyway, he was a bully. He wanted to be
Anyway.
good, but his appearance flagged him as one. There was another boy named Felix. Again, the name had been ripped off. He came from a rich family and was named after his father. He was constantly standing up for people and being a quote-unquote good guy. The two always hung out at the arcades. Felix had always felt bad for Ralph, but was afraid to say so. There was also a girl named Genevieve. She looked a lot like Vanellope von
A
Schweetz.
lot like Miranda Cosgrove.
She was constantly craving candy. She also liked racing games.
I
One
think you were
day,
gonna say she liked
Ralph was being
racism.
picked on. Wait, okay, I don't know what the sentence means. One day, Ralph was being picked on for not standing his bully standards.
He wasn't
What?
evil enough, so everyone was making
What?
fun of him. Be
A
more of a
fight broke
fucking
out in the
dick.
arcade with him ending in a pile of mud. He broke some of the walls.
In the arcade?
Hold on.
Why is the arcade full of mud?
I don't know, I guess he got thrown out and there was mud outside. He broke some of the walls in an arcade machine with his fists. The next day, he was banned from the arcade. Genevieve was also banned for using fake quarters.
What?
Is
The
happening?
two met and became instant friends. Genevieve was part of a group of triplets, thought until birth to be twins. She was conceived a quote-unquote glitch modern science
Oh
could not
my
explain.
God.
Her siblings hated her but never showed it. She also stole to feed her candy cravings, but not much.
Addict. She's a fucking addict.
Just a little bit.
But not much, just a little bit.
A kind of an addict.
The two, Ralph and Genevieve, became instant friends and had great adventures. They were still hated, but they were hated together.
They were hated.
One day, Ralph saw she was stuck in a tree and dangling from a branch. He couldn't reach her, but he told her to jump. Little did he know the whole class was watching. He caught her, but broke his neck doing so.
What? How?
He died a few days later for unknown reasons.
No. Oh, he broke his neck and then died for no reason.
Died
Unknown
of-
reasons. He broke his
He
neck.
died of natural causes afterwards.
He caught her, but broke his neck, dude. How did that happen?
And then he died for some reason. I don't know.
A few days later for unknown
That's
reasons.
weird. I simply would have
Even
lived if that
sadder,
happened.
the class was there when he perished with quarters galore.
What? What?
Quarters, they had quarters galore when they watched him die. What's not clicking?
Did they love it?
Genevieve was holding his hand when he died.
Oh my god.
The article said Genevieve had offered some words. I read them and cried. Ralph was an amazing boy. He wanted to be good. But he was judged by his looks. When he died, I broke right in half.
Oh, fuck.
I've never had a friend like him, and I never will. Ralph, if you can hear this, you were the good guy. You died helping someone, and I think that's all you need to get into heaven. After that, she began crying and ran out of the
There's
room.
no way.
Ralph was
way.
buried a day later. His funeral decorated in gaming propaganda.
What?
Gaming propaganda?
What is gaming propaganda?
Quarters were tossed in his coffin as they said their goodbyes.
What's
In the
some
arcade where the
shit
fight
at his
happened,
body?
the broken machine was fixed with a solid gold plaque with his name on it. Ralph W. Meyer. The whereabouts of the machine were not closed, but I looked up each person. Felix went on to be a famous anti-bullying sponsor. Genevieve is now working with Disney on the movie. Ralph is still there, with fresh quarter rolls on the stone every week. The machine is currently in a shop being repaired. Genevieve also worked on the concept art for Sugar Rush. She is currently 24.
Awesome.
After reading this, I was in tears. Because she was 24. No, that part's not in it. After reading this, I was in tears. I never again will look at games the same way. Maybe your favorite game was made after a boy who loved running but died in a factory, or a son of a plumber who drowned.
Oh, Mario.
All right.
That's how
But
Mario
no matter
was
where
born.
it came from, it's great that we remember them with the permanent tomb for all, period. Video games, period.
Video games, the
Video
permanent
games.
The
Really
last sentence
Video
of this
games,
is
the
just
permanent
video games.
tomb for all.
The entire last sentence is just video.
Video
games.
games.
Video games, the permanent tomb for all.
Is that a?
Oh my fucking god.
That was really scary.
I think this one's really good.
I think my favorite thing about that one is that wasn't a horror story.
It was just a story.
Yeah, it was just a story.
Someone's insane person story.
It's like a fan fiction about Wreck-It Ralph being a real human being.
What if Wreck-It Ralph was in real life? I mean, I guess that's what the story was called.
That's kind of true.
His
Yeah,
tomb
I was
was.
assuming they meant to say gaming memorabilia, but
They
I couldn't think of the
covered
word.
his
Gaming
tomb with gaming
propaganda.
propaganda, and they all threw quarters at his dead body as hard as they could. Okay, are we ready for the last one?
Last one of
a
the night?
classic one.
The classic.
Some of you may have already heard this.
Yep.
Bloodwhistle.
Yep.
You have to do Bloodwhistle. This is
We
a
have to do
long one.
Bloodwhistle.
It's kind of a long one. This is the last one, though.
Very long one.
Bloodwhistle. Let me, Here we go.
We're
Okay.
back in it. This one's important.
This is long, and it's also in diary format, so...
Yeah.
Forward. This is the recorded blog of a college student who is playing a modified version of Super Mario Brothers 3, excuse me. I have Mario 64 on the mind, on his computer.
You love it.
Shortly after submitting the last entry, and we already know what this one's about. He committed suicide in his dorm room, because that's how 90% of creepypastas end.
Yes.
It's an unavoidable fact of fucking life, but it's fine. It's Bloodwhistle. June 5th, 2012. A friend of mine recently sent me what he claims to be a scary Super Mario Brothers 3 hack that he wanted me to try out. Because he didn't have the courage, I started this blog to record my progress through the game. He got this from a site that's no longer active, and I've seen some pretty scary occurrences with emulator games before. Just look at Ben! All of that aside, however, there was something definitely off about this ROM. Its title was SMB3:BW. Anyhow, I won't play any today as I'm quite busy with college work and such, so I'll definitely start tomorrow. June 6th, 2012. I played some of the game today. Obviously, my friend was misinformed, as I've played all the way through 1-3, and I have found nothing irregular. All of the sprites, levels, and sounds didn't have a fluke to their name. Wait, a secret? That must be how you have to unlock it. I swear, you guys, I'll find the warp whistle tomorrow and see what creepy secrets this game has to hide. Look for tomorrow's post. It won't disappoint. Maybe this will explain what the BW in the title stands for. June 7th, 2012. I wish I hadn't unlocked that secret. This game will be the bane of my existence. I don't remember how fucking sudden that the transition is there.
Immediate.
Immediately.
The brain completely changes in a day.
I'll try as best as I can to explain what happened, and what will certainly entail. I don't know if any of you will believe me, but the sick mockery of one of my childhood favorites must be exploited and never be seen by the eyes of any other breathing man on God's green earth. And Todd, what I'll call my friend for the sake of privacy and possibly security, do not send that link to anyone else. You'll see why below. I entered the castle stage. Knowing its only secret was the warp whistle, I disposed of a dry bones before donning a raccoon tail. With a running start, I was flying above the stage until I hit the secret area. My whole life before I hit up on my arrow keypad was completely different. I was happy. I was normal. I could wake up in the morning recognizing my own reflection. But now it's lies! All lies. I know that as of what happened today, my life will become an infernal hell, in which every day will be a futile struggle to retain my own sanity. After finishing this wretched collage of electronic dejection, I will embrace death like a long-lost lover with open arms. Now, to get on with what had come to pass, the blocks that lined the wall were a gloomy, polished obsidian black. Mario's skin had a grayish tint to it, but that wasn't what was wrong with that picture. The music was a sped-up version of the normal bonus room theme. Toad's skull was cracked open and profusely bleeding, spilling blood onto the floor and making the room slippery, like an ice stage. His mouth was also agape and spewing blood onto the floor. The blood had an eerie, reflective quality that should have been graphically impossible for an 8-bit game like Mario 3. I walked up to him to see what it is that he might say. What he had to offer is this. Bloodwhistle. Here, it's cry.
Oh, man.
I then ran towards the chest to see its contents. The chest was drenched in reflective, realistic blood of the same type, emanated by the orifices and exposed cranium of the poor little mushroom-headed fellow. Pressing onward, I ran through it to discover its dark secret, its twisted surprise. I wasn't prepared for the following events. A blood-soaked warp whistle ominously rose from what I now believe to be the deepest crevice of hell. It blipped twice, as the normal whistle would. That, my fellow reader, was the only normality of what I have played today. I played a deep tune that I can't get out of my head as I write this. The whistle descended, violently striking Mario in the chest.
Oh.
This cry wasn't 8-bit at all. It wasn't even cartoonesque. It was the sound of unfiltered anguish, of utter agony. His expression reflected the same. To end my experience on this perverse version of something I once loved, Mario was transported to the warp zone of the Bloodwhistle. I call it this because it had only the cookie-cutter outline of this quaint island. The water consisted solely of the same blood aforementioned in my encounter with the whistle. Corpses of Koopas and other enemies of Mario were scattered afloat near the shores. White, menacing eyes glared at me between the waves, surfacing just to cast their evil glance on Mario. Or me. I can't be sure at this point. All of the worlds were indicated by their respective numbers, and all the dots were crimson. At that point, I noticed yet another abnormality, this time concerning the dot for World 8. Beside it were two 8-bit patches of fire that twisted and contorted in place. Without me pressing any buttons, the whistle stabbed Mario in the ribs. This cued him to move to the World 2 dot. Refusing to pay any further attention to the horrors that surely awaited in the distorted desert, I saved the game and quit. I've played more than enough of my fill for today. I guess that I figured out the acronym for the ROM title meant Bloodwhistle, the hard way. Despite the horrors that plague this abomination, I'll continue to subject myself to the suffering for the sake of all of you, also for mine.
Oh, we can all relate.
It'll help me keep track of the days, and maybe this desperate attempt to cling to my stable frame of mind won't prove to be in total vain. There are 5,000 people that have followed this blog in the 2 days that it's been up. After this pointedly interesting post, I'm hoping to have some more. For those of you following my post, read tomorrow's and share with your friends. I need you to expose starkness to the shell of something I once knew and loved. Remember to hit the bell. Subscribe. June 8th. 2000. Yeah, I really like that blog post just ends with him saying, like, please follow me. Please follow and share with
Like
your
and
friends.
subscribe.
I'm going insane.
I'm gonna be posting tomorrow.
Yeah, but come on. Let your friends know. June 8th, 2012. Well, I did it. I managed to clench the fickle fibers of my perception of reality long enough to play through World 2. I've come to the conclusion that whoever made this is completely and utterly deranged. There's been a rusted gear or a broken spring. Their sprockets are in a twist. Their only purpose...
Rockets in a twist?
Their only purpose in creating this mod was to mentally and psychologically flagellate the naive soul poor enough to take the bait of its mysterious origin. Well, I'm certainly naive enough to fall into that category. I digress. To the experience, I find myself asking how I could have missed major things like this yesterday when I saved the game in this world. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Blood of the same texture from before, just as splattered across the desert sands as sand itself was. Solitary eyes watched me from the pyramids. Pentagrams and other satanic symbols were also infrequent in the environment. Could this hack be the work of the Illuminati? Okay, enough pondering. I need to finish this grim tale. Skeletons of Koopas littered the bleak landscape. There was a distinct disturbance with Mario's appearance, though. He looked starved and parched, as one would typically look after a few days in the desert. Mario then moved into the 2-1 block without my command, and the music began to play shortly after. This was a reversed version of the overworld theme. Whispers and other paranormal phenomena could be heard playing in harmony with the music, saying cryptic things. After about a minute, I began to record the sound. I'll upload it as soon as possible, but I know I definitely can't do it today. One of the most distinct things I kept hearing was, "Let the whistle guide you. Let the whistle guide you."
Ooh.
And the instrument of blood plays the sweetest tune. This creeped me out, needless to say, but this of all things wouldn't prevent me from playing out the remainder of this game. The stage itself was very scary. The sky was grayish-blue, accompanied by an almost white sun. The colors, where am I? The colors weren't bright or cheery in the slightest. The pyramid blocks were faded and cracked, and the wooden blocks were obviously rotting. Mario's sprite was visibly starving and pleading for thirst. The fire creatures fixedly stared at me like a shark stares at a school of fish, seeming to know who their next meal was. The neutral expressions of the Koopas had changed into ones of converged disgust and loath. I had obtained the raccoon by now, so I ran along the pipe-looking platform and took off. I flew for a little while, which was nice. Mario's face changed as well, being the normal happy smile you usually see throughout the entire game. I relish in the few moments of happiness I saw from this game.
Oh my god.
These moments were mercilessly ended within the course of a few seconds. The sky flashed a gloomy black before the Bloodwhistle came and impaled the poor plumber yet again.
No!
Mario fell, his corpulent figure going limp until he hit the ground with a thump that I swore I could feel. Like, calls Mario fat. It's rude.
Every time I think of the Bloodwhistle and like it mentions Murray getting hurt, I imagine, oh!
Yeah. Him like jumping into a wall.
Yeah.
He was miraculously alive, his body twitching in a feeble attempt to rise. A fire creature jumped on Mario, who was now pinned to the ground and screaming in pain. His scream was bitterly realistic. It reeked of such ineffable pain. It hurts me now to describe the sheer degree of torture this character was put through. There he was, burning and seething in pain, and there I sat completely powerless, forced to watch what I thought was the end of his trials on World 2. I was so wrong. The level select came into view. Whistle threw back. Mario was transported to one of the pyramid levels. When the level started, the background was an egregious smoke-filled black. Bursts of lightning filled the sky with illumination. Winged demons in flight were visible upon these strikes. Also in the skies glowed stagnantly lit pentagrams and 666. Mario was being carried by two of Bowser's sons up one of the game's pyramid structures. However, this particular structure was vastly different than the regular ones. The bricks were cracked and faded with age. The edges were jagged and dried blood caked each block. Nothing but a heavy drum beat and the sounds of thunder played in the background. The thunder didn't play in unison with lightning, as happens in most games. There was an eerily realistic pause between the flare of the lightning and the boom of the thunder. As the top of the structure was reached, I saw the worst thing yet. Bowser, towered above everyone else.
Not Bowser.
Intimidating and terrible. Below
Ooh.
stood four of his sons, two of which had carried Mario. Morton, Iggy, Ray, and Von Koopa. Who the fuck is Von Koopa?
Ludwig.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ludwig von
Oh, they can't use
Why
that
did they just
name.
fucking call him Ludwig?
Well, because they think they were talking about the Twitch streamer. Above the entire scene were the words Bloodwhistle in bright red neon letters. Bowser's face had to have been 10 times more evil than I'd ever seen it. His green shell was cracked, and his white spines had been dipped in blood. Blood was fresh on his teeth, also,
Oh my
as
God.
his serpentine tongue licked them, making clear his intentions on what to do with
Maybe
Mario. What?
Why do you have a serpentine tongue?
Always. Have you ever played Mario before?
No, Bowser. It's Bowser. He's not like a long guy.
It was then I came to a dooming realization. Mario can't die. The
Oh.
game won't let him. However many things are thrown at him, and however many ways he's brutally maimed, mortality will not escape him. For a time, that is. He will continue to be sustained by whatever dark force or sick mind that drives the rest of these occurrences to passing until the game's eventual end, in which he will ruefully and painfully perish. Now that that's been said, to continue today's experience. Suddenly Von Koopa produced a dagger. It gleamed with uncanny realism in the light of the Bloodwhistle sign that loomed above. After a brief pause, he began to slice Mario's chest open. Mario again
So
brayed that fearful cry, a cry that implied he would die, only to endure torture of 10 times this magnitude. Tears streamed down his face as Vaughn removed his heart, still pumping. He handed it to Bowser, who ate it with a crunching chomp. His sons laughed as he did this, blood flowing from Mario's exposed abdomen. With a bark from their twisted father, the sons shamelessly began to regurgitate and tear apart what was open. What? They started to throw up? Yeah. As they were doing this, Mario slowly turned his head towards me and uttered a single question through blood and tears. What? Why? I myself asked the same question. Oh shit, where'd I go? Where am I? Where's Mario saying why? I myself asked the same question. Why would they treat him as an animal, if not less, for their amusement? Why would someone initiate the genesis of such a horrid contraption? A contraption in which life and death have no meaning and are concepts. Okay, I'm sorry, I was confused because this was fucked up. A contraption in which life and death have no meaning and are manipulates. A contraption in which concepts such as morals, remorse, and mercy are completely foreign. It makes me shudder to think that there's someone sick enough out there to put a character through this kind of unbearable hell just to
This
sit
is me
back
anytime
and
someone
laugh.
makes a scary video game.
It makes me absolutely sick to my core. Oh, that reminds me of another thing. You're probably wondering as to why I complacently talk about Mario as if he's a human being. A human who suffers pain, sorrow, depression, starvation, and thirst like the rest of us. What?
Where's this going? Point me to it.
A human who's also capable of feeling happiness, remorse, goodwill, and love like anyone else. Because I'm thoroughly convinced that he is. That's it. That's his entire explanation.
Slay.
Please don't stop following this blog because you think I'm insane. That'll come later.
Go off, I guess.
Mario's alive, source,
You would
trust
check
me.
back tomorrow for more Mario torture.
I believe without a shadow of a doubt that inside this game is a complex character with a range of emotions. Someone who feels like you and me. But it's just a game, right? It's just a contrived mixture of code and data put together to present words and images, correct? Wrong. I know with everything inside of me that Mario has to be alive. I've seen him truly happy and truly sad. And at one point, I may even see him truly angry. He feels like any other living, breathing human being. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know how something so human could rise from something so truly inhuman. A character with a soul seemed completely impossible to me before I played this hack. I now have a goal with this game, to keep this poor creature safe.
Oh
I
my
suppose
God.
I now know the real truth. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time.
I keep forgetting that they're talking about Mario.
Mario, the poor creature, Mario.
This
June-
poor creature.
June 9th, 2012. It's me again!
Hey!
I had a horrible range of nightmares last night that are a direct result of playing this game. This is like fucking someone trauma dumping in my DMs. Some really weird stuff also went down. Before I get into today's gameplay, I'll have to go through them with you guys, so I'll have an interactive record of my dreaming habits related to this game. I myself am having a hard time as to how they were so close to home and what they mean for my seemingly inevitable downfall. Before I tell you
What kind of
this,
shit you talking about?
this is someone who learned that words could be 4 syllables long today.
I'm imagining the writer of this creepypasta just with a thesaurus like going like, yeah.
This is
Yeah!
me, this was me like fucking, this was me writing like for creative writing, like first year of creative writing.
I did the shit out of that, dude. Like I justify. I think that shit's good.
It's awesome. I like how many words there are.
Yeah, exactly.
Before I tell you this, I have to let you in on a piece of relevant information. In the 4th grade, I used to play the recorder.
Oh, is that important?
Every kid had to learn some musical skill, and I liked wind instruments because of their method of play, appearance, and sound. Such is the irony of the instrument that has caused me all this grief. In my dream, I was playing the instrument in a dark room. I was my 4th grade self, just coolly playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Out of nowhere, I began to cough. I had choked on some blood that had materialized within and around my recorder. It covered it, and soon filled it. Blood began to pour in great quantity out of all my recorder's holes. It soon began to float in midair and hover. A few seconds passed, and then it struck me in the chest. It impaled me, going directly through my heart and every other vital artery one could think of.
Everyone?
How?
Even the ones that aren't in your chest.
It keeps going back.
It's like a bendy recorder, like looped around everywhere.
It's like a fun guy, just having a good time.
It's like a
more
crazy
worm.
straw.
Yeah.
No.
I woke up, the sheets plastered to my bare chest with sweat. I was completely fine, not a scratch on me. As I sat there in bed, afraid of how I'm sure the game did this, or maybe it was just me losing my sanity, I began to hear noise coming from my laptop. It was closed, but a faint, muffled humming sound was clearly audible. I warily approached my computer, the machine almost looking alive. I then opened it up. It was a picture of Super Mario Brothers 3 Raccoon Mario sprite on a black backdrop.
Oh, okay. That's
He
cool. I
was
love
chained
that
up by his legs and feet.
Oh!
And the chains reached outside of the screen. The Bloodwhistle sat as the centerpiece of it all through Mario's chest. The tune of the Bloodwhistle played over and over, a loop that only exacerbated the sound within the walls of my psyche. I tried exiting out of whatever this program might have been, but the window wouldn't close. I eventually had to take out my laptop battery, which didn't sit too well with my OS. Luckily, I didn't lose any files. Now for the gameplay, I was in a weak imitation of the World 3 level map. The water was none other than blood. Ravenous fish jumped out of the water, looks of primal hunger on their faces. There was something off about Mario's map. With his raccoon tail, Bloodwhistle was now a permanent fixture through Mario's body. His skin had dulled a little from its prior shade of gray, now more outwardly noticeable. His mustache now had dots of red clung to it as well. Without my or Mario's control, needless to say, I was moved to the first underwater stage.
Oh no. Not a water level.
That's the real scary thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, Caprice, see, the thing is, they want to play it because he wants more followers.
Yeah,
He
he's
has social media.
Yeah.
Right?
This is what the circle warned us about.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just like the circle,
It's
actually.
just like the circle.
A cherry red tint absorbed the entire screen. This was to be expected, as the water looked blood-ridden from the outside as well. I swam down the left side of this level to get a fire mushroom. As soon as Mario got it, his outfit changed. And he got an evil simper on his face. He looked at me and said, "Revenge, yes?"
He picks it up and he's dressing fucking supreme.
I confirmed his suspicions, and then we set off for the danger that lurked near. The fish cast malevolent gazes at Mario as he swam by, incinerating them. His normal, happy smile returned, and so did mine. The annihilation of the carnivorous critters didn't last long before both Mario and I faced a hellish dilemma. There was a large fish with rows of razor-sharp teeth. Below him were two power-up blocks, one black-looking and one purple-looking. I assumed these were supposed to mean red and blue. Obviously, there was no progress from this point without finding out what these blocks had in store. Mario's expression changed back into its gaunt appearance that he's had for the majority of the game. Knowing I had no other choice, I dauntingly hit the block that was black in appearance on the left. The fish swam around from its position on top of us and began to tear off Mario's limbs.
Oh
By
my
this
god.
time, a group of fish had congregated around the entire scene. Their laughs were deep and short, registering as barks for the 8-bit sound processor. Mario's unable body wobbled as he bled out, spewing black across the red. When he finally died, the big fish began to laugh. After a couple of seconds, Mario's limbs regrew. With the blue block remaining, I hit it to get this all over with. Bubbles stopped coming from Mario's mouth. He cried out for help, but that only made the problem worse. He sucked in tons of water, his hands around his neck. His face began to grow from gray to blue in a matter of moments. He kicked and fought, but he only wore himself down. Getting angry, he began to incinerate random fish that had gathered in the crowd. The fish began to laugh louder. For every fish he killed, two more appeared in its place. After a while, he just gave up. I watched as Mario uttered his last gurgle on World 3. The Bloodwhistle stabbing and taking him away. I saved and quit with haste. See you tomorrow!
Bye.
June 10th, 2012. Campus police gave me a visit today. Apparently, one of you had reported my comment and claimed I went insane. As a result, I've eliminated all personal information from this blog. I located the person who reported me and banned him. I also have an IP tracker, so don't any of you try that. Speaking of followers, 50,000? I never expected this page to accumulate this many active viewers. Wherever this popularity or notoriety came from, I'm grateful. Now for today's gameplay. After today, I'll be lucky to finish the game. Princess Toadstool's letter appeared after the previous screen from World 3 faded out. She was squirming and shifting around. Bowser's hand covered her mouth and nose, but it was easy to see the fear in her eyes. They darted left and right in stark, true fear. Bowser continued to have that sadistic smile on his face as he struggled. After about a minute and a half, Peach began to change. Her eyes grew an ominous reed as she pushed Bowser's arm away with inhuman strength. She cackled like a loon, blue veins bulging so noticeably that they were clearly visible through her white satin gloves. Bowser began to cower in timidity. The text on the letter said only this: Bloodwhistle, hear its cry.
Bro, she is literally like 16 pixels tall.
Yeah. Like playing gameplay from Mario 3.
Those beautiful white satin gloves.
Really, you can tell what texture they're made of and everything.
Yeah, it's really clear.
You just know.
You get the idea. It comes across well.
The letter scene was abruptly cut off, and the World 4 level select map was brought into view. Goombas and Koopas of all sizes appeared, furious and hungry as ever. The addition made sense. This was the giant tiny world, and shown enemies, it would have been dimensioned as such. The normally green grass was withered and dead. The small patches of water were blood. Mario still was in the fireball fatigues that he donned in World 3. When compared to the other worlds, the map view for this one was vastly less disturbing. I would go as far as to call this tolerable. Mario moved towards 4-1 into whatever nightmarish scenario this stage had to offer. The stage had the usual kinks of any level in this game. The sky was black, which made the white clouds vibrantly contrast. A reversed version of the ground level once again played. The wood, as it had been before, was decaying and wasting away beneath Mario's feet. The pipes were faded and cracked in various places. All of the enemies still possessed the same carnivorous looks of their inter-game counterparts. There was oddly enough a startling abundance of them. Koopas and Goombas danced around in a ritualistic manner. Mario was visibly petrified as he tried to avoid them, my arrow keys keeping them inches away from his life. Amidst the all of the din, there hovered a solitary power-up block. It was regular in appearance. Nothing was outwardly off about this, which greatly surprised me. Not knowing what horrid item it contained, I bumped it in blind vain. That maybe it could help me. You can most likely infer from the intonation I made in the preceding paragraph that I was completely mistaken. What appeared next is what I dreaded. That damn whistle! It was sitting there, blood washing over it, as it rose from the yellow square. It sat there, almost beckoning my name. With the imposing enemies, I knew I had no other choice. I took the weapon from its place, fruitlessly hoping for the best, readily expecting the worst. The on-screen foes ceased all activity. Their faces returned to a neutral, blank state. 5 minutes they stood in place like this, not moving a muscle. I jumped around and tried to kill them, but to no avail. It's almost as if they were frozen within the confines of time itself. As if for specifically them, all interstellar and physical continuity came to a careening halt. Then I began to move. After the first couple had done it, I realized what truly was going on. This was a mass suicide! Most of them jumped in the nearest hole, and others performed incredible feats of acrobatics and medical possibility. One Koopa was bashing his head in on a pipe. Another Goomba jumped 6 or 7 times his own height, turned around in the air, and sent blood flying everywhere with a great splat. Soon all of the enemies were dead. The remains were spontaneously upchucked from the trench below. A grisly mixture.
Good word choice.
This has a lot of great word choices. A grisly mixture of guts and gore littered the entire remainder of the level. Mario shuffled through the remains, horrified, with tears streaming on his face throughout. Random, deep, bassy tones played with nothing else to accompany.
Imagine being scared of a fucking bass line.
Realistic, squishy sounds were emitting every time Mario took a step into scattered carnage. He continued to cry for the duration of the level. The whistle faded into view and followed Mario a few inches above his head. Yeah, just imagine like the Lancer squish sound, okay? Just like... The whistle faded into view and followed Mario a few inches above his head, like a pestilential virus. After he cleared it, of course, the whistle went straight through his chest as Mario was headed to World 5. The game has a habit of putting me where it needs me to be. so I closed the window without saving. Witnessing all that death really racked my nerves. Sure, it might be a game, but with the things this game has had to present to me, I'm starting to lose my perception of reality. I'm starting to wonder to myself what's real and what's inside the computer. These two things are quickly fusing into one. The lines, they're blurring. Pretty soon the days will start fading together, and by then, I'll have lost all sense of reality. I hope to see you all tomorrow. I don't know how much longer I can put up with this game. No, it's not a game. I couldn't tell you what this is.
The game.
No, it's real. June 11th, 2012. Today being D-Day fits. Because I'm
Oh
fighting...
my fucking god.
Because I'm fighting one hell of a war against this game. And a losing one
Oh
at
my
that.
fucking god.
You just said it wasn't a game at the end of the last chapter, and now it's a game again. Like, make up your mind, bitch.
It's very fitting that it's D-Day today.
Fighting a war against this game. At least there are no more mishaps with you all so far, which puts me at rest. As of today's gameplay, I fear for my own life. I feel as if something is coming after me, lurking, seeking me out as to make immediate my demise. Never before has anything like this ever happened. Never before has anything electronic made me truly afraid, truly scared. I most likely will get no sleep tonight. Nothing in particular occurred. It's just, you'll find out below. I was in the... Yeah, like and subscribe, by the way. Hit the bell. I was in the middle of the cloud portion of World 5. The sky theme played, except it was drastically slow, and demonic whispers were clearly audible. The whispers were almost the same as the ones I heard back in World 2. Mario was outfitted with the Tanuki suit, which perfectly suited the environment. There was nothing there except two things, a red dot and a card game. The card game icon looked similar enough to its regular game clone, except the spades rolled across a red background instead of a blue one. Now, for whatever reason, I was allowed to choose which path to take. I chose to do the card game, hoping it would serve as some sort of reprieve from all the madness. That was not the right choice! Toad didn't explain the rules of the game like normal. Instead, I was plunged into the rolling slots. Beside the slots was a risky scenario. Toad was on a guillotine. He looked at the camera with timid, teary eyes. He was vigorously shaking his head. He shook his hands.
Can I say that I think my favorite part about this story is that it's like a monster of the week sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like every like 2 paragraphs you get like an event that happens.
Yeah, it's just like fun. It's like taking Mario.
Yeah, it's like
into
what's
all of
going
these-
on? What's Mario up to now?
Yeah, like what's happening today with Mario?
It's a fun time.
Oh my god.
He was also vigorously shaking his head. He shook his hands in a futile effort to free himself from this appalling apparatus. But nothing came of it. The entire picture engulfed me so much I didn't even notice the slots. I cautiously pressed them, trying as best I could to line them up given the stress of the situation, but I failed! And had to pay the personal price. The blade fell. With breathtaking speed, Toad was beheaded! Right then and there. His head did a couple of spins in the air before landing in a conveniently placed nearby basket. The initial spins flayed blood across the white room. Blood filled the basket and filled it up, Toad's body spraying blood from the stump where his head used to be. Out of nowhere, the Bloodwhistle came and struck his torso. The scene faded out and back to the map. I was moved to the only remaining destination in World 5. Silent lightning streaked across the licorice black sky.
So fucking many.
Gray clouds and Mario were the only other consistently visible things. As far as everything goes, silhouettes of winged demons flew and danced in the background. I tried turning into the stone structure the Tanuki suit is so famous for, but it failed. No music played, none at all. The demons would be heard whispering in what sounded like a variety of languages. Spanish, German and Latin were the most prevalent ones. A primal fear of the unknown gripped me as I blindly navigated the level, judging by the look on Mario's face it plagued him also. This stemmed from childhood, which made it all the worse. What? Did I miss something? Why? Okay. I not only felt like Mario was in danger, I felt like my livelihood and well-being were in danger. At that moment, one of the demons swooped down. I would say the most accurate way to describe this creature would be a miniature Cthulhu. Its claws plucked out Mario's eyes, making them profusely bleed. He unleashed an ephemeral yet bone-chilling cry. After the searing pain relented, Mario trudged on, his face now void of any and all of expression. It was because he knew as well as I did that he would be torn apart, brutally and slowly, but it would happen. After a few more seconds, the second demon came. It was identical in appearance to the first. It swooped down with grim black bat wings and did its portion of damage. After it was said and done, the thing had torn Mario's arms off. And yes, it did say ephemeral. That's not... It did say ephemeral.
Ephemeral.
That is what it said. There are a few words in this that I'm pretty sure are just wrong or made up to sound longer than the word that they actually should be using are. Where am I? Torn Mario's arms off. Mario stopped dead in his tracks. He sobbed loudly, knowing the worst was yet to come. I felt so sorry for him that the words escaped me. He continued with a morose look. His normal walk slowed to a shuffle. Not a few seconds after that, the final solitary specter came down. He did his work with one big slash. Mario was now without his legs, and his lump of a body sat there. He sadly wept in utter despair. He knew the end was near. He tuned to me and choked out this. I'm sorry you had to witness this. Everything. Those were his last spoken words on World 5 before a gaggle of Hell's minions descended and tore apart what remained of him. His entrails were liberally exposed as they regurgitated in their cruel feast. Why does he keep saying fucking regurgitated?
He's kind of a freak.
This guy just loves puke.
Yeah.
When the dust
Among other
cleared,
things, among many things.
a mere shell of him remained. All you could see of his open stomach were his open spine and back muscles. Hold on, let me look at Mario 3 on my other monitor for a second again.
Yeah, pop it
okay,
open.
yeah, I'm looking at this. I can see that. I can see how that would make sense.
This writer really likes puke in the Tanuki suit.
Uh-oh.
You do the math.
As I had predicted, the Bloodwhistle came to transport him into whatever hellish situation it contemplated would be worse than the last. Consider it sheer luck if I make another post tomorrow. If I do, it may be my last. June
This
12th.
motherfucker really felt the need
We're
to
almost near the
do
end.
every single level.
Every level. This is like, when will this end? We're near the end. We're near the end of Bloodwhistle. June 12th, 2012. I'm starting not to care anymore. I'm in the throes of such a severe depression, it's all starting to fade away. He's been playing this fucking Mario 3 for like 4 days. Everything. School, friends, family. It's safe to say this game is single-handedly ruining my life. Such sadness has never become me ever before in my life. My grandfather died when I was young, but that didn't close to equate what I'm feeling now. It's a direct result of the level I played today, which I'll get into now. World 6 appeared. Ice was everywhere. This is the one part that correlated to the unaltered version. Nothing else did. The ice was none other than frozen realistic blood. Crystallized pieces of crimson droplets. bordered the ice blocks. Blood filled in the small pockets of water that were. Of course, there was only a solitary dot on the map. Mario entered it, and I knew that whatever was to pass,
This is it.
it would be tenfold of what had already happened. Pure sable white was the only thing that constituted of the backdrop. Blocks of blood ice served as a slippery ground. Mario slid along as I controlled him. He appeared happy, overjoyed, might be more accurate. Here he had nothing to deal with, just him in the open space. 5 minutes passed, then 10. All the way through, Mario was happy as I let him run around and fly. He had regained the raccoon tail. It seems like he had all the time in the world. The clock ticked, and all seemed right in the game. In making my way through the level, I found out it had no end. Time, oddly enough, would turn out to be the ultimate enemy. At the 20-minute mark, a tempest began to pick up. A flurry of snow and wind ensnared Mario, and he now began to curl his teeth. His tail. His teeth chattered, and his body shook. He soon had to sit down. Mario and I soon figured out how the game planned to snuff him out this time. With ice and time. He sat and tried to heat himself. This, needless to say, was a less than feeble attempt. Nothing but the creepy bass beats from World 5 played. Mario's skin soon began to turn a light blue. Nevertheless, he still sat and brooded in the icy cold. It was then that the utmost feeling of sadness had encapsulated me. I couldn't fathom my sympathy. I couldn't begin to describe how bad I felt at the fact that his death was absolutely inevitable and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Just simply watch in shock and dejected awe. Frostbite soon took his hands. 10 minutes after that, World 6 Mario was no more. Just a frozen block of a man sitting there in the middle of an infinite winter wilderness. After the sadness came feelings of sheer loneliness. I felt abandoned and alone, just like Mario, sitting in the middle of that ice field. I felt as if no one would save me from the torture of this game. The Bloodwhistle came down and made a chunk sound as it impaled his chest, taking him to the next level of hell. I closed the emulator window like always and ended this self-subjected torture. I will bring myself to play this game tomorrow, but mark my words, I'll play the last tomorrow, and then this blog will hopefully live on in my memory, so my tribulation can be seen by the world. Be here, same time, same place.
I
I
forgot
love these
how
YouTuber outros.
stupid thing was.
I think this is the last section, right?
I think this is the last part. June 13th, 2012. It's ironic that today's June the 13th. The unlucky number. The unlucky day. I suppose today isn't completely horrible. Today is the last day I had to play this wretched game. This horrifyingly absurd remake of what I used to see as a wonderful game will soon be out of my life along with everything else, with this being the last post. I suppose I can finally be honest about my true intentions ever since I finished World 2. I'm going to take my own life. Isn't that how he started the story?
Yeah, no, it opened with like outwards, like it was like this happened to this person. This was from his blog.
Oh, okay. Well, we already knew this.
Yeah, we already knew this.
This game has caused me sorrow on such an ineffable level that there's no other option. Life will never be the same. Mom and Dad, I love you. Michael and Kelsey, you guys be good. Listen to Mom and Dad. They have a lot of valuable lessons to teach you. Lessons that I learned, but can now never apply again. His parents should have told him to turn his fucking video game off sometimes and go outside. Like, go to the park.
Give a fucking football, bro.
Yeah, just
Stop
like...
playing Bloodwhistle.
Stop playing Bloodwhistle, bro. It's not hard.
How is cyberbullying real?
Now for what, you 75,000 followers. Little humble brag at the end there, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
Read this post for the rest of the game. Hell itself is what the game brought me to. I suppose that this was intention to convey World 8? No. Not hell. Worse than hell. Bodies were chained up in the background, enduring a myriad of tortures. The only pain wasn't strictly felt from injuries, though. The coughs, dying wheezes, and vomiting in the background reeked of pestilence and suffering. Fires emblazoned certain people as well. The flames had an actual burning quality to them. Not like regular 8-bit fire. Flesh, eyes, and other internal organs and tissue constituted the walls and ground. If the hell I'm certainly going to exists, I think it'll look like something like this.
Going to hell?
Because he played Bloodwhistle, I guess.
Yeah.
Mario stood before a possessed Princess Toadstool. Her dress was ripped in several places and splattered with blood. Her eyes gleamed red, and flames casting an evilly maniacal allure to her appearance. Bowser and his 6 sons were tied to wooden poles, with terrified looks on their faces. Wendy, for some reason, didn't appear anywhere in this game. In one hand, Peach brandished a sizable dagger. In the other, a blood whistle. She walked over to Bowser and looked him in the eyes. Technical limitations slightly hindered the interpretation of what events passed, but it was easy enough to understand what was going on. Through his gag, Bowser pleaded with her not to harm him. She brought the knife close to him, and he froze up. He was obviously paralyzed with fear. Her mouth got close to his ear, and text rolled along at the bottom of the screen, conveying the text of what had played out, given the sound limitations. This is what enabled Mario to speak in the past. Shush, she whispered. Bowser's innards spilled onto the floor in a grape heat. He let out a monstrous 8-bit roar of pain as this happened. Peach laughed, her red eyes reflecting whatever evil had possessed her. The princess proceeded to eviscerate all 6 of his other sons. Mario did nothing but look on in horror as his mortal enemies were torn apart by a woman that he had once loved very much. His face soon contorted into one of loathing. He had come all this way to find out the very girl he wished to save had been taken over by an extraterrestrial evil.
What?
An evil.
Wait, go back. Let's scroll back a couple words.
He had come all this way to find out the very girl he wished to save had been taken over by an extraterrestrial evil.
Aliens.
Yeah, I guess. An evil that would not only haunt Mario, but me as well. The sort of evil that doesn't go away when you turn off the game, the kind of dark force that follows you to your bedchambers and steals your soul. Princess Toadstool paused for a couple of seconds, then came at Mario with the knife.
Oh no. Mario, look out.
Hey there, Mario! She said as she toyed with the knife. They got a little sharp with me, so I pushed them over the edge. I tried to move Mario, but nothing happened. He stood there, afraid of what she would do.
Mario,
She
look out.
brutally slashed open his arms, legs, and abdomen. Shortly thereafter, the princess produced some salt from her billowing dress and sprinkled it all over him.
No, wait, no, that's too
She
much.
screamed again. Unmoving.
Wait, her dress was full of salt?
Yeah, I guess. The Princess Peach you used to know is long gone. The power of the Bloodwhistle consumed that girl and made way for me. And speaking of which, she continued as she produced the Bloodwhistle. Here it is. Hear its cry. With a mocking kiss on the cheek, he began to play Mario, the perverse song of the Bloodwhistle. Its notes rotted away the last reserve of good in me. He was heaved by an invisible force into the flames. He cried out as they consumed him. Peach chucked the whistle, making it strike him directly in the heart.
Stop stammering the fucking whistle. How many times this has to happen to him?
Well, what else can the whistle do? It does
I
that.
guess so,
That's
but
its action,
It's a
that's its
fucking
attack.
whistle.
it's like 10 times.
It's so boring. He continued to wallow in utter anguish as she walked away. As she laughed, he looked into my eyes and bore me this parting message via the text at the bottom of the screen. Do not let your life be as painful as mine. I do not hold reservations against you, as you tried your best to keep me alive. I commend you for that. Goodbye, Bradley, and good luck. The tune of the Bloodwhistle continued to play as the screen panned out of Mario's hell. How he knew my name is Bradley continues to befuddle me. How he could have such depth, such personality. I don't know whether this is a result of the game being as haunted as it truly is, or the fact that someone's could have been captured inside of this ROM. Whatever the reason of this, of everything that's come to pass with this abomination, I'm glad it's finally done. I've made all of my goodbyes at the beginning of this post. I hope one of you takes the time to save this blog, or at the very least, to show the world the true hell I've put myself through. I sure hope the demented creator of this game isn't festering in the same hell I'm headed for. Goodbye, everyone. Aftermath. This blog was last recorded statement of Bradley before his death. His roommate discovered him 4 hours after he made the last post. Bradley committed suicide using a recorder that he plunged through his trachea. The end.
Whoa!
Oh my god.
I think it's fucked up that after all of that, like, being stabbed in the chest by a whistle, he doesn't even stab his chest with it.
Yeah, it's just the neck, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, like, okay. Boring. No one cares.
No, I think it's a mystery. I don't think he killed himself. I think he was killed by the Bloodwhistle.
You think
I
that...
think that because Mario told him to live and he was gonna leave, but then the Bloodwhistle escaped the game and it came out.
Yeah, the Bloodwhistle was real.
Yeah, that was the real Bloodwhistle.
I think that's such a good fucking
love
story. I love Bloodwhistle.
There's something charming about the fact that they did decide to do like every single level of Mario, and they're all identical.
Mario level?
They're all like
Every
everything's covered
Mario.
in blood, and the Koopas are like throwing up constantly.
Yeah, you're like, I want to make a
And they do
scary
it for
version.
every stage, where it's like in the ice stage, the Koopas are freezing to death and puking everywhere. There's blood on the ground.
In the house stage, the Koopas are bleeding and puking everywhere. In the slot machine stage, the Koopas aren't there, but
like...
Toad's bleeding.
And then they all end with Mario getting stabbed in the chest and going, "Oh!
Oh!" That was Bloodwhistle. Hear its cry. Hear its cry, everybody. My sanity is fading. Please follow my blog and share it with your friends.
Yeah, please, guys, I don't know about you, but I feel like something might happen to this stream after all these little ghosts that we've brought up.
Oh no.
No, that seems ridiculous.
Oh no.
What do you think's gonna
I'm
happen?
just saying, you have to be careful. You gotta spread the stream around. You gotta spread it around. You gotta make sure people know.
Yeah, I'm really scared right now. And if you don't share this stream and like and comment and subscribe to all of your friends,
you just die.
Yeah,
maybe the Bloodwhistle's coming for you next.
Bloodwhistle might come for you. Oh fuck, I think that's it. It's been 4 hours.
Oh my god.